This is my 1987 Toyota Supra. I've had it for about 3 years. I built a 7M GTE for it originally on Megasquirt with the idea of just enjoying the car, and then I got a job at a speed shop and working on all these 700 or 800 horsepower cars all the time, and I kind of got the itch to make something fast for once. And out of all my cars, I did the math on what would sort of work the best and be sort of on the cheaper end to get it done. And this is a straw that got pulled. So told the guy I worked with that I wanted to do a 2JZ swap. So we explored our options, and I'm not sure if he really thought I was serious or not, because it's kind of a big job. And I ordered it on a Friday, and it showed up on a Tuesday. And it just snowballed from there. So the motor hit the landing dock in late spring, and by late June I had it running on the streets making boost. The setup is really simple. It's just a stock VVTI 2JZ from an Aristo. It's got an R154 behind it, competition stage 4 clutch. At the time I had a Borg S360, 60 mil, basically the smallest S300 you could get. The fuel system, also pretty straightforward, ID 1700s, E85, a single 380 liter per hour pump. This is also a Megasquirt 3, same standalone as the other engine. It's wired up with VQ coils, factory cam and crank sensors. I actually am using the VVTI, and it does help with building boost. Treadstone intercooler, all the intercooler piping, downpipe, all that stuff, I fab myself. Getting the swap sorted out on the street and driving it around and making sure everything's okay. It was an extremely reliable setup. I mean, it drove like a Camry outside of boost, always started, never had any issues, never straightened me. So I figured it was about time to get it to the track and see what it would do, just as a baseline. I trailered it up there, and right off the trailer, I fired it up, and it had a misfire that I'd never heard before. And I spent 2 or 3 hours trying to trace it down, and it ended up being just a bad wire. It was my fault on one of the ignition coils, and I didn't really have any good way to fix it. So I got some spare wire out of my truck, my tow truck, and I jumpered it straight to the battery to make the coil hot at all times. And I finally got to the staging lanes, and my goals were just to trap like mid 120s. I wasn't really sure how much power the car was making. And it cracked off a 11.5 at 134. Which is quite a bit faster than I was expecting. As you can imagine, I was ecstatic. It's a roller coaster of emotions that evening. That was with pretty much no traction, 2.1 60 foot. I'm on old cycled out drag radials that I borrowed from a friend. So their car definitely had a lot more in it at that point. But I will say that the turbo, this S360, was pretty well maxed out at that point. It flows 65 pounds per minute, I think, and all the boost it would ever make was like 25 to 22 on the street. And I eventually ended up pinning the wastegate shut and not even using boost control, just on the dome to try to keep the valve shut. And I think once or twice I saw 28 or 29. So at that point, with that trap speed and this car's weight, which is a full weight car, full interior and everything, I think that put me around 580 to 640 wheel, somewhere in there, depending. And I sort of made the decision to go with a bigger turbo because I was wringing this one's neck, just trying to get everything out of it. And so we ended up with a S369, the 9180. It's same footprint as the other turbo, but the compressor wheel and the exhaust wheel is significantly larger. It flows 95 pounds per minute. And at this point right now, I'm making about 25 pounds of boost on the street. It is pretty much unusable, even with the traction control that I have implemented with Megasquirt, which does better than nothing. So at this point, I think it's probably closer to maybe 680 wheel, just depending on, a, just from looking at a couple of logs that were actually clean runs. I would like to get it back to the track to see what it would actually do, but they told me not to come back last time without a cage, so I'm working on that too. But I suspect if the traction's there and everything, I'm looking at maybe a 140 trap speed, which will put me around 700 wheel, somewhere in there. I think that's going to be about the limits of my fuel pump at this point. So the next big steps on the car will be to reinforce the spare subframe, because I've already cracked this one, and put it in the car, and then modify the spring perches. Modify the shock mounts to accept a drag style coilover, so I can try to get the car to leave. I know Supras are roll racers, but I'd actually like to try to make this one dig. Maybe I'm an idiot for doing that, but I'm going to give it a shot. Modified control arms made out of DOM steel tubing, because they're pretty flimsy from the factory. And then I'm working on putting together a drag pack to finally get something less than a 2-second 60-foot. Long-term goals, I think 9s would be great. It's a tall order, but a 9-second full-weight street car is, to me, that's serious business, and it's something I've never done before, and I'd like to try to pull it off. So this is just a quick rundown on the car. I'll be making more videos as I do things to it, maybe on more detail, maybe some of the fabrication work or some of the issues I run into with the car, but so far it's been pretty stellar. Car moves out really good on the street. It's faster than anything else I've owned. That was the goal. And it's just it's a riot, man. There's nothing like it. Thanks for watching.